So the reason why I came on here is to really brag on God, to show you that God will be with you every step of the way.
Jesus had to bring me back, he resurrected me. Dark places, wrong faces, broke me down bad, but I made it. Style so official, I be dripping.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's Nefertiti, and I'm back with another video. If you're new here, welcome. If you're already subscribed, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so you see the title. I am going to be telling my testimony. Now, for those of you who have watched my videos, I have 3 previous videos where I talk about stepping out on faith, and I will have it in the link in the description below so you guys can see. I tell a part of my story of how I got to where I'm at. However, I want to tell my testimony, so this kind of goes with that one, but I'm going to try my best to tell the testimony where if you didn't see those videos, you know what's going on. And I honestly, the reason why I want to get on here is to brag, okay? I'm just trying to brag on God, okay? Because God is so good and he's so faithful and he's awesome. And so I'm like, I have to get on here and tell y'all, all right? I'm not trying to brag and be like, oh, look what I got. Look what God did for me. It's more about for y'all to see who God is and see his hand in things, okay? So at the end of the year in 2022, in October, okay, I up and left where I'm from. Now, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I say Pittsburgh because I'm in Georgia right now, and a lot of people don't know what part of PA. They don't know the different parts of PA, so I just say Pittsburgh to make it easier for people who don't know different parts of PA. I'm from Pennsylvania anyways. So, about 2 years ago, God was telling me to leave. He wanted me to come to Georgia, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. God said, girl, I don't need you to go out there. And I'm like, nah, because I'm working, and I got a little boo out here, and I ain't really trying to go, so now I don't want to do it. And I was being disobedient. But guess what happened when I was being disobedient? God kept my growth. And what I mean by that, he was not allowing things to go through for me because I was disobedient. He was not allowing me to get any further than where I was because I was disobedient. He been told me to leave and I didn't. I couldn't even get a job. And in my previous videos in the description below, I talk about that. I have a degree in business. And it was never hard for me to get a job, and I was not able to get a job nowhere. Nobody wanted to hire me, and I was frustrated. And I said, God, what do you want me to do? I'm crying, and I'm frustrated. I don't have no money. I got to pay my bills. Like, what do you want me to do? And he said, move. And my mom kept telling me, girl, you got to go, you got to go. And I say this in the videos, in the previous videos, but she's like, you have to go. And I'm like, Mom, I don't have the money. She's like, you're looking at money, and God's looking at faith, and you need to just go, use your faith and go on ahead with your bad self. Now, what I was looking at was that I have an old car. I have a 2003 Lexus car. And by the way, Lexuses are very good cars. They're excellent runners. They are, I want to say Toyota is a sister car to a Lexus or vice versa. Great cars, by the way. If you need to know what kind of car you want to get you a Lexus. Toyota, Honda, something that runs good. It's a good car. Anyways, but at the time when I was still in Pennsylvania, my car was acting up. It was literally stopping in the middle of the road, and it's just shut off on me. So I'm like, bro, how am I going to make it to Georgia, right? Again, this is where faith will play into. So I remember God gave me a date. He told me October 15th, you need to go. You got to go. I'm like, okay. Now, it wasn't that easy. The reason why I just up and left was because I see my sister 2 months before that in August. She packed up her clothes and her shoes. She has 5 children. She's a single mother of 5. She packed up her clothes, her shoes, and her dog and her kids, and they left. She didn't have no money. She just left. She just drove. She just went literally on faith. You know, some people say they're walking on faith, but they have help. No, she just flew away. Just drove. And so as she went to go see family members before she left, they gave her money, which was God, because God is such a blessing. And she has, a testimony. So, I want to get her on here so y'all can hear about her story. But her story is amazing. Anyways, I seen her up and leave. So I'm like, okay, well, if she can do it with 5 kids, I can do it with me and Jesus, because I don't got no kids and ain't no excuse now. So then I up and left. And y'all, when I tell you when I left, it was a bittersweet feeling because I felt sad. I didn't want to leave my mom and my family members and my friends, but I was so at peace because I knew it was time to go. And not only that, a few months before I left, my brother was murdered. And so where I lived at was in a duplex, and I lived on this side, my sister lived on this side, and my brother lived with my sister, and we're next door. And so it's like, even when I go down in the basement to wash clothes, his room was down there. So it was like being connected still, like in that house. I felt drained. I felt like exhausted. I felt like it was time for me to go. And the crazy thing is, I even had a dream about it. Dreams are real, guys. Dreams are real, okay? I had a dream that a monster basically forced me, my sister, and my mom out of them houses. Okay, it was me, my sister, and my mom. We got jumped in a car and we just drove away. And that was like a symbolism I believe God was giving me, that hey, it's time to go. And that's exactly what happened. We just drove away. We just left. Anyways, I was really ready to start over. I was really ready to start over because after my brother was murdered, a lot of things started to happen. A lot of things went downhill. It got real weird. Where I was living at, it got real weird. It was like, I don't know. I felt like people was watching us. It was just real weird. And I just knew it was time to go. And that's not the only reason why I went, but it was a relief to like get away from that atmosphere and to come into something new. And when I drove, when I got to, I think it was like North Carolina or South Carolina, I had such a peace. Child, I didn't know where I was going. I knew I was going to Georgia. I just didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. I just didn't know it, okay? I felt such a peace. I slept in my car that first night, and I finally got to Georgia. And like I said before in the other videos, I was, I didn't have no money. I spent the rest of my money on gas. Now, that's it. It was gone. But my mother sent me some money for a hotel. I was in a hotel for a couple of days, and a woman sent me money. I didn't ask for this money. I didn't tell her. I mean, she knew I went to Georgia, but I wasn't calling around asking for help. I didn't ask nobody. She just sent me, she cashed out me some money, which paid for a few more days at the hotel. All right. And then at that time, I was calling around looking for shelters, shelters to stay at. Because I'm like, I'd rather stay at a shelter and save up my money, stack up my bread, than keep on paying for a hotel. So I was getting discouraged because, like I said before in the previous videos, in the state of Georgia, it's like harder for single women. So they have shelters for men, single men, and they have shelters for mothers with children. But when it comes to single women, there's not as much help. And so it was like pulling teeth, and I'm like calling around. I started to get discouraged because everyone's like, no, we only take single men. No, only mothers with children. I'm just like, God, I can't be in a hotel forever. I need to be able to, I don't got no money. I had no money, bro. I didn't have no money to pay for no more hotels. Okay? I didn't get it. I didn't have it. And so God said, keep looking. So I'm like, all right, I keep looking. Eventually, I called this one place, and their shelter was full, but they recommended me to another place, all right? And so I went to, and I called the place, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a shelter, da-da-da. They didn't answer, but then they left me, they didn't answer, and then they end up calling me back, and they were like, okay, we have a bed. One bed, but we can't save it for you. So whoever comes, first come, first serve, figure it out. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna come. And the crazy thing is, my grandfather had just sent me a few dollars to stay at the hotel for a few more days. It was my mom, one of them. And my sister told me automatically, she said, get a refund for that hotel and go to that shelter. And I'm like, okay. So I had just paid for the hotel. Just paid. And I was like, hey, I need a refund because I got to go. So, we did the whole refund thing, whatever. So I got to the shelter, which was a blessing. This was a first step to the journey, okay? This was a stepping stone. Now, let me keep it real with y'all. Real. It was ghetto. It was, honey, I'm from the streets. Pretty much, that's what it was. It was the streets in a building / jail. But I was still blessed because I had free meals in a bed to sleep in, and I didn't have to sleep in my car, okay? So I'm not complaining, but what I'm telling you, I'm trying to be real with y'all. This journey was quite a journey, but God kept me. He was with me the whole time, but child, boo biscuits. Okay, and then here's the rules. Now, you got to be out of the shelter by 7:30 in the morning. It doesn't matter if you don't have a car, if you don't have a job to go to or nowhere to go, figure it out. They want you to go find jobs and stuff, so you can't be there. You're not allowed to just lay around. So you got to get out by 7:30 a.m. and you have to come back in by 4 p.m. So if you want to go hang out, if you found some friends and you want to have fun, you better just hang it up because you ain't having no fun because you got to be back at 4 p.m. So it is what it is. Every day you go in there, they check your bags, make sure you don't got no knives or nothing on you. all that good stuff. When you're in a room, sometimes you're in a room with 15 people, sometimes you're in a room with 7 people, sometimes you're in a room with 6 people. I was in a room with 7 women. We were not allowed to get dressed in the rooms, okay? We had to get dressed in the bathroom, and mind you, the bathroom, we weren't allowed to keep the door shut. Have you ever heard of that? We weren't allowed to keep the door shut. And you know, me, I got a voice, so I'm protesting over here. I'm like, listen, we're women, okay? We can't be having the doors open. Like, we have a lot of parts, just like men do. But you know, we can't just have, no. We should be able to have the door shut. They basically, we had to have our room door shut, but we couldn't get dressed in there, but we couldn't have the bathroom door shut, but we got dressed in there. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. So I protested, and they changed that rule. So I was there for a while, about a month. But y'all, it was kind of like jail. Like, they feed you whatever they want to feed you, like canned food. You know, sometimes with some good food, have some chicken, and some chicken. People would come there and donate food and stuff like that. But like I said, it was a blessing because I'd rather be there than be on the streets. But it started to get bad. Like, this shelter, they was letting anybody in there, and it was getting violent. And the woman came in, and she was full of spirits. She was just, some people would say schizophrenic. I'm telling you, for those who are spiritual, who know about God and know about spirits, honey, she was full of them. She came in, stabbing the table with knives and stuff, and I'm like, oh, we're not. And the crazy thing is, I had a bad feeling about it. I had a bad feeling that day when she came in. It was just feeling, I don't know, it was her. She was in there talking about stabbing people and hurting people and all that. And I'm like, I can't be here. Y'all, I used to sleep in my bed with my purse in the bed. Anything valuable, I slept with it in the bed. Anything. If it's valuable, honey, it's going with me in the bed. Your lotion was getting stolen. They steal your lotion, they steal your soap, they steal your jewelry, whatever. They steal stuff. And I'm like, woo, child, this is crazy. And you know, you had to be off the phone at a certain time. Like, if you're laying down, you go to bed like 6, 7, 8. You got to be off the phone. They want you off your phone. You're not allowed to be on your phone. This is crazy. I was like, this is jail. It's like, no, let me stop. Forgive me, because I know some of y'all have really been in jail. It's probably like, girl, that's heaven compared to jail. But it was really institutionalized. And so I went through that. You know, I made it through. God is great. However, I went from that shelter to another shelter. And the other shelter was like, you know, more free. Like, you know, you have a room with like 2 women, maybe 3, but mostly 2 women. If you're single, if you have kids, you get a room to yourself. There's a kitchen. You can come and go freely as you want to. You can eat when you want to. They have good food. Like, you're not just eating canned food, whatever they feed you. You know, you can bring your own food in, all that. It was such a blessing. And not only that, the shelter the shelter that I was at, I worked for that same place. Like, so I worked at their store. They have a store. I worked for their store. So long story short, I was at that shelter, you know, and I was still working at that store. Well, in the meantime, you know, when you're in the shelter, the goal is to get a good job and get you a crib and get out. Okay. And so the place I was working at was only part-time, and I'm working for a ministry. So you don't get paid that much. And I'm also applying for other jobs while I'm working at this job. And the job that I have, again, you guys have to watch the other videos, because I'll tell you, the videos tell you about how I got this job. And so the job that I have, you know, it was a blessing, but it was like not enough to pay for an apartment or for a house or anything like that. And so I was trying to get like 2 jobs, and it was just like, still, it felt like I wasn't getting hired. I was getting interviews, but then nobody wanted me. I'm like, God, what's going on? Is it me? Is it the way that I'm doing the interview? What is it? God, give me a sign. I need something. Right? So even though I was only working part-time, I wasn't making that much money, I was still applying for places, okay? Because you got to still step out on faith. And I was not going to be just sitting there. So I was like, you know, still applying for houses and stuff like that, and applying for apartments, and even income-based, like maybe just trying to find an income-based house, you know? Well, you know, I'm applying, I'm calling, and I put my name on list, and I am not giving up. But I ain't gonna lie to you, there was a time where I was trying so hard. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I was applying for jobs. I was, when I tell you applying for jobs, I am not talking about like 2, 3. I'm talking about 50, 60, 70. On Indeed, it'll be like, you just applied for 72 jobs this week. Like, that's crazy. And the crazy thing is, I'm hitting them back up too. Like, hey, I would love for you to interview me. Like, I'm really trying. And then I'm like, I'm at shelters, you have a deadline. So they let you come in and you have maybe 30 to 90 days and you gotta go. You have to have a house by then or have somewhere to go. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to have it figured out. And so I did it and I was trying and I'm like, I'm in the car crying like, God, like, I don't know what to do. Like, please open up a door for me. I need help. And the crazy thing is, God told me, he said, you will not be paying no more than $800 for rent. And I'm like, we in Georgia. In Atlanta, child. It is expensive. Okay? To some people who got money like that, who's balling, maybe Georgia's not expensive. But for the regular folk that work regular jobs, get paid regular pay, it's expensive. It'd be like $1,400 for apartments in houses, $1,400, $1,500, $2,400. It's crazy. $2,500. It's like mad money. Like, and they'd be like, whoa, bro, and not even including utilities. They're like, oh yeah, the apartment's like $1,400, not including utilities, not including food, not including things you need for yourself, not including gas, not including insurance, not including anything else that you pay for. This is just by itself. And I'm just like, okay, honey. But God said, you're not going to be paying any more than $800. So I'm like, okay, God's going to give me an income-based housing. That's what he's going to do. I'm like, that's the only other explanation because I don't know how else this is going to work out. All right. So there was the shelter manager. Me and her were cool. We would like just talk and go on walks and stuff like that. And where the shelter's at, I did not want to stay in the town. Okay. I didn't want to stay in this town. I was like, I'm trying to go to Atlanta. I don't want to be here. Like, I'm in the outskirts of Atlanta, but I didn't want to be like in these outskirts. I was trying to be closer to the city, and I believe God was telling me that's where I'll be at. So I'm like, okay, I was like stuck on that. Like, that's where I'm gonna be at. I'm not gonna be out here in this little boom town. It's boring out here. I'm not gonna do it. Not I. And I remember the lady, the shelter manager, she had gave me a call, and she said, Nefertiti, she said, we have an apartment open because the shelter has transitional housing. So like you can stay in an apartment for like a year lease up to a year. So you can get on your feet and go get you a house, prepare you for the real world. And she was like, and we were recommending you because, you're the next candidate or whatever. And we're wondering, would you be interested? And I was like, I'm going to pray about it and I'm going to get back to you. And here's the crazy thing. Let me stop right there. My sister had told me, I think it was like 2 days after this, she said, God said, you'll have your house in the next 5 days or something like that. And I'm like, okay, amen. All right. Amen. Jesus, thank you, God. So I'm like, I don't know. Cause like God didn't tell me I was going to stay in this little town. Like, I don't know about that. Right. But I was thinking about it and I prayed about it and I was at peace with like being here because I'm like, this is just a stepping stone. I don't have to stay here forever. But also the rent equals the amount that he told me I was going to be paying. So I'm like, okay. So, I talked to her. I was like, you know what? I'll take the apartment or whatever. And she's like, okay. Like, they had to fix it up and stuff like that. And then the job I was working at, because I was working for them, I had to end up leaving that job because I wasn't making enough. So they had to make sure that I was making enough on paper to be able to afford the house. So child, I had to go through a whole process with that because it was not with it. They needed to see on paper. So I ended up getting hired at another job. And it was just, I had more income so they can see that, I can afford rent and utilities. So now fast forward, I'm finally in the apartment. Thank you, God. Y'all, I was in a shelter for 6 months. Some people were in shelters for a month, 2 months, 3 months. I was in a shelter for 6 months. I done went through the ups and the downs, the struggles. I done cried. I done laughed. I had a great time. Some days weren't the best, but God was with me every step of the way. And so now I'm finally in the place. Okay. Amen. Yay. God is so good. It was him. And the crazy thing is, I went through a lot of turmoil to even get in here. It was like, dang, like they made me go through a budget plan like over like 3 times, and just was like all this stuff. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, like all this stuff. And God kept telling me, that's your house. I'm not gonna take it from you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. That's your house. I was getting worried. I was getting stressed out, man. I was getting stressed out. I'm like, man, like, I was supposed to been moving out. It took a whole month, like, to move in. Like, I'm like, I'm supposed to been moving to this apartment, and they like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got the money, but they want to make sure I can afford it. And it just was like, I was going through a process. And the crazy thing is, like, I'm gonna tell you how good God is. I know I'm kind of everywhere, but real quick. Before I moved into this place, it's going on 2 weeks I've been here. Before I moved into this place, they were still like, oh, we need, we're going over the budget plan. Oh, we need to make sure this and that. Just make sure everything that we already went over. We had to go through it again. All right. So there was a young lady and her baby that was moving into the shelter. And the only room that they had was the room that I was in. And so, they're giving her a tour, and the shelter manager comes in and she's like, hey, like, we're just showing her the room. And I'm like, okay, but we don't have enough. The room was not big, and it was not enough room for me, another woman, and a baby. And I'm like, there's not enough room for all of us, right? She's like, oh no, we're about to have you sign your lease. I said, look at God. God will push you out. God will allow a situation to happen just to get you to where he has you to be at. So anyways, now I'm here. I'm at the apartment. Thank you, Lord. And guess what? I asked God, I was praying for a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bedroom for me and another bedroom for my channel so I can make videos and stuff like that. And y'all, it's a 2-bedroom apartment. Y'all, I'm going to be specific because God is in the details. In my bathroom, I wanted to have a shower that you can pull off. The little portable joints. That's exactly what I have. Kitchen's big. Like, the living room's nice and spacey. When I tell you that God is so amazing, and my yard is nice and big, like, God is so amazing. And he fails you not. He fails you not. Now, the other day, I was coming home from work, right? Because, like, where I live at is close to the shelter. So the shelter was having like a, what's it called? What is it called? An open house. They were having an open house so people can come look at the shelter, see what they got going on and stuff like that, right? So I pulls in from work, and the case manager, she comes over to me, she see me. She's like, hey, like, today's your lucky day. And I'm just like, okay. And she's like, you hit the lottery. I'm just like, okay. And she's like, so there's this lady from Lazy Boy. For those of you who don't know what Lazy Boy is, it is a furniture company. It's just like Aaron's or whatever furniture place is around you. It's a furniture place. And so pretty much what she was doing was she was looking for someone to bless. What was that? Listen, God, I got to brag on God. So she was telling me how she came to the shelter. She came to the open house, and she just wanted to be able to put some furniture into the shelter. Well, the shelter's like, well, we pretty much have everything. She said she went to the shelter. She walked around. She's like, they got beds. They have a couch. They have everything. I don't know what to give them. So the shelter manager tells her, oh, we have a young lady that just moved into an apartment. She probably needs stuff, right? So I'm talking to talking to the lady from Lazy Boy, and she's just like, yeah, we can give you, what do you need? Tell me what you need. I said, well, I got a bed, but I don't got nothing else. And so I got a refrigerator still that came with that, but I ain't got nothing else. You know what I'm saying? I'm standing up. Okay. So she said, okay, we can give you couches and side tables and all that, right? So I'm like, she's like, what you want? So I'm a sectional type chick. I like the sectionals and all that. So, I told her, like, I want a sectional, and she's like, okay, we'll give you a sectional with an ottoman and an area rug, and if you have enough room, we'll give you the side tables. And so I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'm like, okay, well, do y'all give out like dressers and stuff? Because I love to have some dressers. And she's like, oh yeah, we can give you dressers. And she's like measuring stuff, and she's coming in and she's making sure the measurements is right, and she's looking around and see how much stuff she could give me. And so I said to her, okay, cool, thank you. So how much is this gonna cost me? She said, oh, nothing. We're going to get it down to $0. Hold on, because I'm about to cry. She said, we're going to get it down to $0. mind you. Ooh, because God, he speaks to us. In about 2 weeks ago, he told me, he said, I'm going to get you furniture debt-free. You ain't going to have to pay for it. I was like, okay. And so for a while, I wasn't even really looking for furniture. I mean, I was looking for furniture, because you kind of got to step out and look. But I wasn't like every day online looking for furniture. I just was working and coming home and doing what I got to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? And when that lady said, I'm going to get it down to zero, again, he kept his promise. He kept his promise when he said, you're going to live in an apartment where you're not going to be paying no more than $800. Then he said, you don't have to pay for the furniture. I got it. Man. I had to brag on God because he keeps his promise. And I said, he's so faithful. And I am not anywhere close to being as faithful to him as he is to me. I need to step my game up. So the reason why I came on here is to really brag on God, to show you that God will be with you every step of the way. I went through a lot of tough times, okay? When I tell you climbing this mountain was a journey. It was not easy. There was a lot of tough times, but God kept me every step of the way. And I want to cry because it's not an easy journey. Nobody said walking with God was going to be easy. But I was never alone. I was never alone. And no matter what went on, I said, I am not going to give up. I don't care what goes on. I was telling myself, if I had to sleep in the car, I will grind. I will work 2 jobs. I'm not going home. And another reason why I came out here to Georgia was because God sent me. And I said, God, why you sent me out here? He said, I didn't send you. I planted you. There's a difference. You have work to do. Okay? And so I'm not just here because I wanted to be in Georgia because this is where you can follow your dreams and stuff like that. I came here because I chose to be obedient, and I know that I have a purpose, and God has things for me to do, and I'm going to do them. And I said, God, whatever it takes, I'll do it. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. If it takes for me to sleep in the car, I'm going to do it. If it takes for me to work 3 jobs, I'm going to do it. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do your will. I'm going to do your will. I'm going to do your will because I owe you my life. And I could go on. I'm going to have to make another video because this is very long. But if you got this far, I truly hope this blessed you. I hope that you got to see today God's hand. I hope that you got to realize that he will be with you. Do not give up. Do not throw in the towel. Do not give in. There are going to be times where it's a little bit tougher than others, but depend on God. Whenever you're feeling weak, he will be your strength when you are weak. Whenever you are crying, he will comfort you. Whenever you are in need, he will be there. He will be there every step of the way, but you make sure you put him first. You make sure you serve him. Make sure you love him how he loves you, and watch how your life will transform. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Be sure to join the team. Hey, be sure to join the team. Hey, I also have a reaction channel in the description below. Check a sister out. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. If you got any requests, let me know. If you want to talk to me, my email is below. My social media is below. Let a sister know what's going on. You want me to pray for you? I can do all that stuff like that. Hey, all right, y'all. God bless you. Stay tuned.